Welcome to another episode of Moments with Mark. Glad you joined me today. Hey, I just wanted to talk to you about something weird. Look at my background. Isn't that a beautiful background? Although I'm ready for a spring background, which we will soon be changing because we'll soon be going into summer here, or spring here pretty soon. But anyway, winter. There is a book I have in my office by Wayne Jacobson, I think it is, and it talks about seasons. We go through seasons in life. We go through seasons, and boy, we like to move them along, don't we? I hear people say, "Oh, I can't wait for spring." I can wait for it, but I get a little antsy. I want it to come because I'm ready to plant things. I want to smell dirt. Oh, that fresh smell of dirt. Make sure you're not out in the horse pasture though when you do it. So anyway, but there are seasons that we go through. There are seasons to harvest. Ecclesiastes tells us there's a time for everything. He's talking about seasons. And we go through seasons. We go through seasons where it's just like there is, things are blossoming and things are happening and things are growing. And then we go through seasons where things, as they're growing, and then we look forward. Okay, we're gonna have a harvest, and then it all comes to a screeching stop, so to speak, called winter. And winter is a fallow season. Andy and I were talking about this a little bit on one of the countercultures, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit this morning. Let's talk about fallow seasons. This season of winter. Our Scandinavian friends, and you know my last name is Hansen, so I've got some Scandinavian, a little Norwegian on my dad's side. Norwegians, Scandinavians, Swedes, Danes, they embrace winter. It's also embraced in certain parts of our country, which is very Scandinavian, is like Minnesota. They have these things called elder hostels. And what they are is the people that who are not snowbirds that go to Florida in the winter, or they at least spend part of their winter up in Minnesota. They have these different things for people to do. And a lot of elderly people do them. And like they might say, "Hey, you want to learn how to go sled dogging?" Whatever they call that. Well, then you go and you take this class and you get to go on a sled dog trip. And it's a hoot. And so they're like these little excursions and things like that. But they embrace winter. When my wife and I moved to Western New York from Kansas City, which Kansas City had quite a bit of snow here recently, but their average snowfall is 24 inches, I think. At least it was 12 years ago when I lived there more. And it was like, okay, you just get through it until you get to the oppressively hot summer in Kansas City. But we moved here, and all of a sudden we had snow, and it was cold. And here last week it snowed for like 4 days, very lightly, but it snowed, and it slowly accumulated. You go north about an hour and a half, and they got hammered because of the lake. But we learned you got to embrace the winter. Okay, it took me a couple winters to get used to that, but my wife and I bought snowshoes. And some people buy snowmobiles, but then when you get our January thaw like we're having right now, you don't get to use your snowmobile and you don't get to use your snowshoes, but you can still take a walk out in the woods or whatever the case is. But it is a fallow season. Our Scandinavian friends know that this is just what this is. And so what they have learned, up our New England friends too, for that matter, will do this. They know that you put you get a fire in the wood stove or in the fireplace, and you get a cup of coffee or hot chocolate or something else hot. You put on your winter clothes, your warm clothes. You grab that big warm blanket and you sit there and you grab a book and you read it, or whatever you need to do. But you learn that this is a time to rest. A fallow season is a time for, I'm a little bit of a plow jockey from the Midwest. In the winter, you let the ground set. You have to let it rest. And we all need seasons of rest. We all need seasons of rest. And of course, what we don't realize is a lot of people realize, how come they had to call Roto-Rooter or something like that? I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. But they call the septic people or the plumbing people and say, "Hey, can you dig out my line?" And they clean out the line and they say, "What was in there?" And the guy says, "Tree roots." Then what do you mean tree roots? Well, people don't realize is tree roots grow in the winter. They're down there in the ground and they are growing because in the summer they're storing up and they're doing their thing of giving, taking our carbon dioxide and all that stuff, giving us out. You know how it all goes. I'll let you figure out the science on that. But we look out over the land and we see the snow. We see that the trees are bare. We see that things are not growing like we'd like. And there's a beauty even to that. I look at the background behind me and I see the trees. And there's something beautiful about even a bare tree sitting there. And then we have the pines that still hold on to their needles and stuff. And so there's this menagerie. It has its own beauty unto itself. But here's what I want us to take away from, folks. We need to learn from Scripture. Of course, Jesus says in Matthew 11, at that time Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this was your good pleasure. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Then he says this, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I have often said that it should be translated, come ye apart lest ye fall apart. If we keep going, we have to rest sometimes. And if Jesus rested, he took a nap in the boat, and he even says here, hey, you need to rest. And he's not telling us something that he does not know. God put it in plan. The Sabbath day is a day of rest. 6 days shall you work, and on the last day, that seventh day, you will rest. Rest is... I remember one time I was teaching on a Wednesday night about spiritual disciplines, and there was this young gal there. She was a little bit... I don't know the proper terms, so bear with me here, but mentally challenged. You could have a conversation with her and stuff, but she had some situations that challenged her a little bit mentally. But we're sitting there, and I'm asking about spiritual disciplines. I said, what's a spiritual discipline? And she goes, sleep. And we all laughed because she liked to sleep, usually during my sermons. But we got a charge out of it, and I said, you know what? I said, you are exactly right. That is a spiritual discipline. Resting. Just taking time to recharge, to let God kind of reset things for us. You have to do that with the computer sometimes. You have to shut it off and let it reboot and reset and kind of clear out some of the bad isms and, the whatever cookies or whatever. You got to let it do its thing. And we have to do this. Someone asked me one time if I put my chickens under lights to keep them laying in the winter. I said, no, I don't. I let them just have a rest, because they don't lay as much in the winter. Now, does that, I come up short on eggs sometimes, but, I let them rest a little bit. I let them rest because they need that. They need that time. I'm not in it for the money. It's not going to, trust me, I'm not going to retire on selling eggs. But it does let them have an opportunity to rest a little bit. And I need to rest a little bit. And you and I both, we need to rest. There's times we can rest. It doesn't mean we always rest. I know some people, I just need a break again. You just had a break. Okay? I mean, there's certain jobs in our country right now. Apparently you can take more time off than you can work, and I won't get into that. But anyway, there's times you rest. This is my board has talked to me about having a sabbatical, taking some time that is just for me to recharge and to regroup. And so that probably isn't going to happen in the winter, by the way, but we need winter. It's a fallow season. It is time to let the land rest. It is time to let the vegetation rest and recharge. And folks, I'm going to tell you, maybe today someone out there is hearing this today and they're saying, you know what, I need to just quit trying to make things happen. I'm thinking that this is probably talking to myself right now too. You got to hate it when your own message comes back to get you. But there's times that even in the church that things don't seem to be growing and doing, what we want them to do. But God's saying, I'm letting it rest because I'm getting you ready for when the growing season comes. So I'm going to leave it right there, wind chasers. Maybe right now you need to just relax. Go get a book. Go get a cup of coffee or hot chocolate or tea or whatever is your, you want to get. Curl up in a ball. Sit with a dog. Watch a good old movie, The Quiet Man. We're coming up on March here soon. Go watch The Quiet Man with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. Betty Fitzgerald or whatever his name was. But anyway, and let yourself rest. Come ye apart lest you fall apart. Sometimes we just need to step back, sit down, take a breather, and it's okay to say, no, I can't do that right now. I need to recharge. You can't give out of an empty cup, people. You need to let God fill your cup back up so that you can then do what you need to do. And that's we'll get into that one later. But in the meantime, know this is a fallow season. And maybe you need to just rest. So until next time, I'm Pastor Mark. Keep chasing the wind because the wind is chasing you. Grace and peace.